Welcome to this demonstration of cross-cloud data management and compliance validation with Cohesity's Analytics Workbench in AWS and Microsoft Azure. So before I jump into the demonstration, let me provide a brief overview of the infrastructure and what I'm trying to accomplish as part of the demo. Here I have a hybrid infrastructure that is providing and consuming resources from both Azure and AWS. The primary use case here is the utilization of a centralized multi-protocol file services that are going to be offered from the private cloud data center. The goal here is to validate compliance of the corporate data management policy across the entire infrastructure, including local data protection, long-term retention, high availability, disaster recovery, and including a PCI regulatory compliance check by identifying the existence of credit card numbers in any of the files that are stored within the infrastructure in any location. You'll notice that all but one of the corporate data management requirements will be satisfied through the use of a single policy in a configuration job. The validation for PCI with regards to the existence of credit card numbers in any of the files stored within a data platform is going to be performed from a Windows Server instance that is running in AWS. From there, I will connect to the Cohesity cluster that is residing in Azure and use Cohesity's Analytics Workbench to validate the PCI credit card requirement by running one of the tasks directly within the framework. So I'll start directly from the Cohesity UI to demonstrate the one configuration task, which basically brings into compliance all of the different mandates that have been passed down as part of the data management policy. Here you can see there's one particular task or job, which is specifically applicable to views, which is a construct which represents files and services in a Cohesity context. Here you can see the validation for local data protection and also the replication to another site. In this case is the Microsoft Azure Cloud, to provide the validation of high availability, disaster recovery, accessibility, and all those different requirements that were presented before. So here you'll see the storage abstraction name, the protocols which is being accessed under, and the type of space efficiency features that are applied to it. Now I'm going to jump onto the cluster residing in Azure simply to demonstrate the tasks that have been configured in order to validate or run the validation process for the credit cards or the PCI compliance we're looking to adhere to. Here, obviously, I've cloned or restored the entire content of that particular shared in the form of a view, which I call view for analytics, which is just simply being able to reinstantiate or restore the content of that particular infrastructure in the share or the data that we're holding and sharing across clouds under this one particular storage domain. It is accessible through multiple protocols, which is why I'm now going to be able to, through the Windows Server instance that is currently running in AWS, be able to access that information through a specific SMB share and run the analytics function that will allow me to validate whether or not the data that I have stored within the platform is in compliance or not. Now, the key point here is that I'm doing this without having to move or copy any of my data across any dissimilar system, across any potential infrastructure or whatnot, but by simply adding a particular pattern in a syntax and running these tasks within the platform itself. As you can see here, I will be able to identify whether or not all of the files within my infrastructure, which are currently stored in the Cohesity data platform, are in the PCI compliance form or not. So here I'm able to look at the results of the task that it ran. I'm able to then download a particular text file, which would tell me the files, the directory, and all the information that I have that I need in order to identify a file or files that may not be compliant with what I'm looking for, or to be more specific, if a file contains the syntax that I was looking for, means that it's not in compliance, which is what I'm doing here. So now I go back into my Windows instance in AWS. I open a directory which was pointed out by the results file, and I perform a search for the particular file name that was pointed out, because obviously, as you can see here, there's a couple of 1,000 files in this particular shared. Here, once I look at the identified file, you can clearly see that the syntax that I was looking for is part of this particular file, which means that it is not in compliance. One of the key values of this capability is the fact that I was able to accomplish all of this without having to move data or information outside of my primary data platform. This reduces risks, operational inefficiencies, and also provide the ability to run syntax driven by analytic functions in order to determine regulatory compliance acts within the Cohesity data platform. That is one of the many value capabilities that Cohesity offers to enterprise organizations. I hope you enjoyed the demonstration. Thank you for watching.